Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, you're very welcome. This is Reading the Past and I'm Dr. Cat. And we're back with another look at the history news headlines to mark the first Friday of the month. This time we're looking at the headlines that caught my eye in September 2022. As always, I'll be using the description box to link the history news articles we'll be looking at today, in addition to any other relevant materials. We have some updates, some new news, and some upcoming and recently opened events and exhibitions. There's also going to be a link to the September History News pinboard that I have created on Opera for you all to check out as well. Now it's time to take a look at the history news headlines from September 2022. Updates first. The first update is more of a clarification or correction of an item that I talked about in the last news review video. Specifically, this is in relation to the content of the exhibition called Art of Benin, Yesterday and Today, From Restitution to Revelation. Displayed in this now closed exhibition were 26 objects that had formerly been held in France and were repatriated, and these have been displayed alongside contemporary works of art. Much of the reporting described these repatriated items as, quote, royal treasures of Benin. I made an erroneous connection that this was referring to the Benin bronzes that had been looted from the Ober's royal palace. It was, however, very kindly pointed out to me that the artefacts in question in this case were in fact from the Kingdom of Dahomey, which is now located within present-day Benin, while the Benin bronzes originated from the Kingdom of Benin, which is in present-day Nigeria. So, France repatriated looted artefacts to modern-day Benin, where they went on display, but these artefacts were not Benin bronzes, while modern-day Nigeria is calling for the repatriation, successfully in many cases, of the Benin bronzes, with the intention of displaying them in a new museum that is currently being built in Benin City, Nigeria. I can only apologise for my confusion and mistake in this matter. I am very grateful to those who pointed it out to me, and I will ensure that I don't make the same error again. And I also hope that I have clarified things appropriately and sufficiently now. Last month, there were also reports published about a new law that is set to come into force as part of the Charities Act 2022. Dahlia Alberge, writing for The Guardian, states that, quote, museums and galleries in England and Wales will be given unprecedented powers to dispose of objects in their collections if there is a compelling moral obligation to do so under this new law. An expert in art law, Alexander Herman, pointed out the significance of this change in relation to repatriation cases, explaining that it, quote, means that trustees of national museums will soon be able to seek authorisation from the Charity Commission, Attorney General or Court to return collection objects if they are motivated by a moral obligation. And for low-valued objects, they would be able to do so without authorisation. I will, of course, be keeping watch to see how this legal shift and the new Charities Act will be interpreted by various institutions and what the effect will be. As updates appear, I will be sure to let you know. The next headlines are still what I classify as updates, but they do all have one thing in common. So I decided to group them all together to create a subsection, if you will, that I am going to refer to as Shenanigans at the Met. In the case of the first headline that we're going to look at, some of the details are still a little fuzzy. ArtNet is reporting that the Met will be exhibiting 161 ancient artefacts before they are repatriated to Greece. The pieces are said to be more than 4,000 years old and reportedly belonged to the 84-year-old billionaire Leonard N. Stern. It's also been reported that the collection was in the process, seemingly, of being donated to a cultural institution in Delaware. It isn't clear what's prompted this change in plans, nor do we know what the former holder of the collection thinks of this move. The Met has also chosen to stay quiet on just how they are involved. But perhaps their silence is in part due to the rest of the aforementioned shenanigans that they are overseeing. Robert on Twitter let me know about this article. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has issued a search warrant for a 6th century Indian statue representing a Hindu Matrika deity. The statue, which will likely be, or perhaps already has been, seized, is valued at $300,000. It is said to have been a 1993 gift to the museum from the collectors Florence and Herbert Irving. Elaine Velli, writing for Hyperallergic, explains that, quote, the affidavits that justify these two most recent search warrants are sealed, making it unclear whether any of the objects are associated with the suspected antiquities trafficking ring that made the headlines over the last few months. Meanwhile, Laurie on Twitter sent me a link to this article. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has returned 58 artefacts to Italy. The pieces, which have been valued at almost $19 million, include 21 that were seized from New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. Robert Fraiche for CNN writes that all 58 items were trafficked by 4 individuals and ended up in the collection of US billionaire Michael Steinhardt, one of the world's largest collectors, according to the DA's office. Steinhardt has been given a first-of-its-kind lifetime ban on acquiring antiquities, according to the DA's office. Another article that was shared with me multiple times on Twitter makes reference to this repatriation of the 58 items, with the 21 from the Met to Italy, but it also discusses 16 other seized antiquities, 6 of which were seized from the Met, and these are being returned to Egypt. In total then, this article states that 27 artefacts were seized from the Met, using 3 search warrants. A spokesperson for District Attorney Alvin Bragg provided the following statement, quote, it should be no secret to collectors, art museums and auction houses that they may be in possession of pieces from known traffickers that were illegally looted. The investigations conducted by my office have clearly exposed these networks and put into the public domain a wealth of information the art world can proactively use to return antiquities to where they rightfully belong. Our investigations, which have led to the repatriation of nearly 2,000 objects, will continue. I haven't come across any reports with a statement from the Met on this matter either. Perhaps, though, they are simply content to allow their new sculptures to do the talking. I'm grateful to Yvonne on Twitter for sending this one my way. 4 gold-coated sculptures by Guyanese-British artist Hugh Locke have been installed in the niches of the Met's facade. Hakeem Bouchara describes the collection as, quote, shining trophies created in dialogue with items in the museum's collection that are connected to histories of conquest, loot, and other forms of imperial violence. I'll say it right away. The works are commanding, thought-provoking, majestic, and impossible to ignore. They are indeed magnificent. Locke named the series Guilt, a name chosen, we are told, because of that term's dual meaning, depending, of course, on how one is spelling it. Locke is keen to define his work too. He is quoted as saying the following, it's not an anti-empire or even an anti-Met piece. What I am trying to do is make people question the stories behind these objects in the museum's collection and how they got here. The Met building itself is a trophy. It's a New York trophy, an American trophy. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these works in the comments section. Now it's time for us to look at the new news. Thanks go to Robert on Twitter for letting me know about this find. It was made during a kitchen refurbishment at a home in North Yorkshire, and it was of a cup containing more than 260 gold coins that date from 1610 to 1727. The stash is set to be auctioned by Spink & Son this month, and it is thought they may fetch up to £250,000 or $290,000 at that time. The people who were thought to have hidden the coins in the first place have also been named as Joseph and Sarah Fernley Maesters. Apparently, quote, the Maesters were an influential mercantile family from the 16th century to the 18th century. They traded in iron ore, timber and coal from the Baltic states, and several generations took up posts as lawmakers in the early 1700s. It is unclear why the couple never recovered their stash of coins, particularly considering how easy they were to find beneath the floorboards. Perhaps the fact that the family line dwindled after the death of this couple explains why no later generations in the family took the coin cup up either. I do look forward to finding out how much this stash will sell for in the end, and hopefully we will also learn who has purchased it too. I'm grateful to Yvonne on Twitter for letting me know about this report. An interesting discovery forms part of a book that is set to be released this month in the UK on the 21st of October and on the 10th of January 2023 in the US. The book is by the British art critic and historian James Hall and is titled The Artist's Studio, A Cultural History. Hall believes that this sketch, found in the margin of Cristoforo Landino's edition of Dante's Divine Comedy, shows Michelangelo in the process of carving his famous statue of David. What do you think? Are we getting a spectacular glimpse at a particular moment in the creation of this incredibly famous work? Nate on Twitter kindly let me know about reports of an archaeological investigation taking place at an area at Old Fort Meade known as Soapsuds Row. The excavations are apparently seeking to find evidence of the laundresses who washed the soldiers' uniforms. The fort was occupied from 1878 to 1944, and it's thought possible that the Fort Meade laundresses might have continued to work after the US Army banned women from accompanying troops as laundresses. I will be on the lookout for any information about what this dig ends up discovering so that I can provide you with an update. Yvonne on Twitter kindly sent me a link to this article about a piece of ancient papyrus bearing a Hebrew inscription of the name Ishmael and dated to around 2,700 years ago that was found in the possession of an unnamed man residing in Montana. It is being reported that the man's mother, quote, obtained the artifact during a visit to what was then Jordanian-occupied East Jerusalem in 1965 and brought it back to the United States. It is thought that it was most likely looted sometime in the last century from a cave in the Judean desert. The fragment is now held by Israel. Anne on Twitter sent me a link to this Cosmopolitan article titled, Here's What's Likely Happening to All the Queen's Crowns, Tiaras and Priceless Jewels. While it is expected that all of Her Majesty's jewellery will have been officially bequeathed to her son and successor, King Charles III, it is likely that she, perhaps with her son's input, will have earmarked certain pieces to be given, or indeed lent on a long-term basis, to certain people. However, as Mahira Bonner states, quote, it should be noted that many significant pieces in the royals' jewellery collection were stolen from countries they colonised, including the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which is prominently featured in one of the royals' most famous crowns. Claims that it was a gift from the embattled child Maharaja Duleep Singh are, I would say, simply not credible. It was then recut on royal orders in the Victorian period, and it now sits in the Queen Mother's crown. A petition for the return of the diamond has been created, and I do wonder if this might elicit a response, especially considering the current climate for repatriation. However, the crown jewels are held in trust for the crown, which is the name given to the institution of the monarchy. The crown jewels are held in trust by the royal collection. So, in short, it's all fairly labyrinthine. which offers quite a lot of potential for this particular buck to be passed around. But perhaps I will be completely surprised and there will be an enormous degree of transparency. I guess we'll have to see. Archaeologists and officials from Cambodia have been granted access to explore the collections of first, the Victoria and Albert Museum, beginning last month, and second, the British Museum, beginning this month. This is so that they can explore allegations that treasures looted from Cambodia may be housed in these institutions. Celia Hatton, writing for the BBC, explains that, quote, "The Cambodians believe that the British Museum, the UK's largest, could have dozens of items in storage that were taken out of their country without permission, and then acquired by the museum as late as the early 1990s. The group has a priority list of items they're interested in discussing with each museum. The British Museum is believed to have approximately 100 Cambodian pieces, though all appear to be in storage. The V&A is thought to have more than 50 items, a fraction of them on display. Seeing the pieces will be an emotional experience for some of the Cambodians, who have never seen such valuable objects up close before. The looting certainly took place. The question is where the numerous stolen artefacts actually ended up, and if their illegal journey can be proven to a degree that will enable their repatriation. Yvonne on Twitter came in hot again with a link to this article about the discovery of an ancient Greek Corinthian helmet that was found in a grave dated to the 5th century BCE in southwest Russia. It is made of bronze and once would have been padded with leather or fabric inside. This helmet is corroded and fragmented, but it is also breathtakingly rare. In fact, we are told that it, quote, is the only one of its kind discovered north of the Black Sea. Its presence in a grave can be explained by the custom of burying these helmets beside the warriors who owned and wore them. A few people have shared this next news item with me. In fact, I have already made a response on TikTok relating to this find, and more specifically, relating to how this find is being reported. I'm not sure if I've actually verbalised the decision that I've made, but I suppose now is as good a time as any. Because for a little while, and indeed going forward, I have made, and will continue to make, a conscious decision not to show any human remains on this channel. A coffin, casket, or sarcophagus that's closed? Maybe. But the contents of those, or indeed just graves in general, are now a no-go for me. As I don't think that human remains should be displayed for public consumption in galleries, it feels hypocritical for me to be displaying them on my channel. The headline, for which I will not be showing an image, announces the discovery of the burial of a female vampire in a 17th century cemetery in Poland. The woman has been buried, we are told, quote, with a sickle placed across her neck, as well as a padlock on the big toe of her left foot. Firstly, I want to point out that burials of this kind are not super rare. In fact, there are enough of them for scholars like David Burrowclough to be able to conduct a study of them in Europe and then write an academic article on them. The article in question is titled "Time to Slay Vampire Burials: The Archaeological and Historical Evidence for Vampires in Europe." This article was first published in 2014. Burrowclough concludes his article with the following, quote, "We need to beware presuming that all such unconventional, deviant burials result from a fear of vampires. The unusual mortuary practices described here, including staking, decapitation, and covering with stones, are noteworthy, but quite often they may be better explained as punishments for criminals, suicides, plague carriers, or even witches, rather than suspected vampires." I'm particularly struck by that last sentence, on these unconventional or deviant burials as punishments. Punishments for people who may have been criminals, who may have taken their own lives, who might have carried an illness, or might have been accused of being witches. all of which seemingly superseded the number who were suspected of being vampires at that time. I am led to conclude that in life, perhaps towards the end of life, and certainly in death, these human beings were monstered by their community. They were othered by the people that they should have been able to call friends and or family. So when we see articles about creepy vampire burials, I can't help but feel that we are remonstering them. They were once living, real human beings, and they are worthy of respect and dignity. Yvonne on Twitter has made a solid play to be this month's MVP by kindly sharing another headline with me. I am very thankful to Yvonne for taking the time to do so. The renowned Egyptologist Zahi Hawass believes he has located the tomb of Nefertiti. At the end of last year, an Egyptian-led mission, which Hawass is part of, uncovered artefacts around Luxor that resembled amulets known to belong to Tutankhamun. In the same month, they located a mummy that may prove to be a vital piece in unravelling this centuries-long puzzle. Hawass is quoted as saying, "We already have DNA from the 18th dynasty mummies, from Akhenaten to Amenhotep II or III, and there are two unnamed mummies labelled KV21A and B. In October, we will be able to announce the discovery of the mummy of Ankhesenamun, Tutankhamun's wife, and her mother, Nefertiti. There is also, in tomb KV35, the mummy of a 10-year-old boy. If that child is the brother of Tutankhamun and the son of Akhenaten, then the problem posed by Nefertiti will be solved." Some scholars have expressed their doubts about this discovery, but as the test results are set to appear this month, there will not be long to wait before this particular debate will be settled. I will keep a lookout for the reports on this so that I can share an update if and or when it appears. I want to thank Melanie on Twitter for letting me know about the repatriation of a number of artefacts to Haida Gwaii from the Buxton Museum and Art Gallery. What makes this story of repatriation a little different is that it was the Buxton Museum that reached out to the Haida Gwaii Museum with the unconditional offer of return. Buxton Museum is run by the Derbyshire County Council, and with budget cuts on the horizon, choices had to be made. Marcia Lederman, writing in the Globe and Mail, explains, quote, "The Derbyshire School Library Service was set up in the 1930s, thanks to a Carnegie grant, to collect museum-quality objects that would be sent to schools in isolated rural villages of the area. They collected thousands of items, including what they called world cultures objects. Access to museums has come a long way for these communities since then, and with the county's financial challenges, a decision was made to end the programme. The Buxton Museum received funding to find ethical solutions regarding what to do with the collection. It decided to hold on to some items and offer some for transfer to other museums. But with Indigenous communities around the world asking for their objects back, the Buxton Museum's Brett Gaunt recognised the opportunity to do something more. 5 objects have already been repatriated from the Buxton Museum, and there are plans to repatriate other artefacts to First Nations in Canada and the United States. Gaunt has also been talking to other British institutions about the success of the project. It's encouraging other museums in the UK to look at their collections and to think about decolonisation and to return objects unconditionally. Time will tell how many other institutions will follow this example. If and or when they do, I will be certain to let you all know. I'm grateful to Twins Things on Twitter for letting me know about the discovery of this striking and incredibly well-preserved ancient mosaic, seemingly celebrating animals, that was found while farmer Suleiman al-Nabahin and his family were digging in their orchard in Gaza. Depictions of birds, rabbits and canines have been uncovered so far. It is believed that the mosaic dates back to the Byzantine era in the 5th to 7th century. Archaeologists will be keen to examine this mosaic and the site as a whole so they can better understand the choice to decorate in this way, with this level of skill and detail. I mean, what building did this mosaic decorate? Why do animals play such an important role? What else might be hidden beneath the soil in the surrounding area? I do hope we find out soon. Next up, we have this article recounting how a network of German museums has become embroiled in the alleged antiquity smuggling ring that is rocking Europe's art world. As we have seen in various articles that we have looked at in the various monthly news reviews, it is clear that a network of antiquity smugglers were connected to, and in some cases seemingly responsible for, the acquisitions of some of the most famous museums in the world. Specifically, the Louvre, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the Louvre Abu Dhabi. Devorah Lauter, writing for ArtNet, reports that, quote, "It now appears that several German museums played key roles in whitewashing antiquities of proven or alleged illicit origin that belonged to the Simonian family of dealers, who run the Dionysus Gallery of Ancient Coins and Antiquities in Hamburg. The Simonian family, originating from Cairo and of Armenian background, is the source of millions of dollars worth of Egyptian and Near Eastern artwork sold to the Met and the Louvre Abu Dhabi via their collaborator and alleged frontman, the dealer Robin Dibb. Dibb is being held in France for criminal conspiracy, gang fraud, and money laundering in connection to the scandal. He denies wrongdoing. German museum curators recount how the now 80-year-old Serop Simonian allegedly arranged several murky deals with 3 German museums. He tried, but couldn't convince a fourth, to store his antiquities, often of unclear provenance, in their warehouses over varying periods, spanning decades. As part of the deal, Simonian allowed institutions to show his art objects in travelling exhibitions. In exchange, at least one museum in Hildesheim was given the opportunity, or rather beholden, to purchase pieces from Simonian's holdings for what has since been shown to be inflated prices. Simonian's strategy lent impressive legitimacy to the objects in question, paving the way for sales at auction and directly to institutions, while also increasing their value. This smuggling ring seems to expand with every new report, and I'm not sure if the investigation has now reached its limit or if more people and more institutions are going to be implicated. Will I be updating you of further wrongdoing, or will I, at some point soon, be finally able to say that it's now case closed? Many thanks go to Nate on Twitter for sharing information about this forgotten archive of medieval books and manuscripts that has been discovered in a Romanian church. Over 200 books, manuscripts, and manuscript fragments, some dating back to as early as the 9th century, have been located in the Ropemaker's Tower of St Margaret's Church in Mediaș, a town in central Romania. According to reports, this cache of books includes, quote, 139 printed books dating to between 1470 and 1600, 2 manuscripts from the early 16th century, and about 60 more charters and other documents dating to between the 14th and 16th centuries. Furthermore, they found several manuscript fragments that were kept inside parish records, the earliest of which is from the Carolingian era and may date back to as early as the 9th century. It is thought that these texts may have been part of a much larger library collection within the church. The research team working on the collection are hoping to gain a better understanding of it, to help preserve it, and to find a way for it to be housed in a local library with digitisation to give wider access to it. I will be on the lookout for this hoped-for digitisation so that I can share any links to it with you if and or when they should appear. I'm again grateful to Twins Things on Twitter This time for letting me know about the discovery of the ship that sent the iceberg warning to the Titanic, which, as we know, did not ultimately have the desired effect. The merchant steamship, the SS Mesaba, transmitted a caution signal to the RMS Titanic while it was crossing the Atlantic. Within hours of this message being sent, the cruise liner had struck an iceberg and sunk, killing more than 1,500 people. The SS Mesaba herself would be sunk 6 years later when she was torpedoed by a German U-boat while acting as part of a convoy in September 1918. She has now been relocated using state-of-the-art multi-beam sonar equipment, and her final position is 21 miles off the Irish coast. I must say, this new equipment does produce really clear images of the seabed and shipwrecks upon it. No doubt, then, it's going to improve the quality of searching for other wrecks in the future. That was the new news. Now we're going to take a look at the events and exhibitions that I spotted and indeed was pointed in the direction of last month. Robert on Twitter let me know about Hear Me Now, the Black Potters of Old Edgefield, South Carolina at the Met. According to the website, this exhibition focuses, quote, on the work of African American potters in the 19th century American South, in dialogue with contemporary artistic responses. The exhibition presents approximately 50 ceramic objects from Old Edgefield District, South Carolina, a centre of stoneware production in the decades before the Civil War. This looks like a great exhibition to check out if you're going to be in New York between now and the 5th of February 2023 when it closes. Do let us know in the comments if you do get to see it and what you thought of it if you did. I was very pleased to be invited to the press preview before the reopening of Leighton House and Sanborn House. They were named for their Victorian owners, Frederick Lord Leighton and Edward Linley Sanborn, respectively. Both men were artists. Leighton was a celebrated painter and president of the Royal Academy of Arts, while Sanborn was the chief cartoonist at the infamous satirical magazine Punch. As you can see from this video that I was able to take during my visit, their homes are quite something to behold. Both homes were reopened to the public on the 15th of October 2022, having undergone a period of redevelopment that restored the historic interiors and created new exhibition spaces and displays. Tickets are already available online, and you can book for just the one house or for both. For anyone with plans to be in Denver after the 16th of October 2022, but before the 22nd of January 2023, you might want to head to the Denver Art Museum to check out Saints, Sinners, Lovers and Fools, 300 years of Flemish masterworks. The exhibition is a unique presentation of medieval, Renaissance and Baroque paintings, sculptures and other objects from the southern Netherlands. We are told that it offers a look into the specific subjects and styles adopted by artists in the southern Netherlands between the 15th and 17th centuries, providing important connections to the society and culture of the time. These works depict a rapidly changing world through unique styles, subjects and techniques, offering insight into the past and the chance to create parallels to our world today. It is being billed as, quote, the US debut of these Flemish artworks. Many have never been on view to the public before, even in Belgium. Have you got plans to be in Cleveland between now and the 1st of August 2023? If so, then perhaps you might like to take a trip to the Cleveland Museum of Art to check out their exhibition, Tales of the City, Drawing in the Netherlands from Bosch to Bruegel. As the exhibition website points out, quote, drawings provide fascinating insight into the Netherlandish city as a place of artistic collaboration and patronage. Artists made drawings to prepare for large commissions, to transfer designs to other media, and to plan civic events. Many works in the exhibition were created in conjunction with the Netherlands' flourishing industries in stained glass, tapestries, and printmaking. Drawings were also increasingly made as autonomous works of art. Picked out for special mention within this exhibition is Hieronymus Bosch's The Tree Man and Peter Bruegel the Elder's Decidia or Sloth. Last, but by no means least, the Wallace Collection in London is hosting a free exhibition from now until the 8th of January 2023 on The Lost King, Imagining Richard III. We are told that this exhibition sets out to trace the story of how key objects and staff at the Wallace Collection have influenced the way we imagine Richard III today, and how he has been portrayed in cinema for nearly a century. Visitors will get a unique opportunity to view the complete replica armour created for this autumn's film, The Lost King, before exploring the story throughout the Wallace's remarkable collection of medieval and Renaissance arms and armour. According to the Evening Standard, it is a, quote, small but fascinating display that leads you into a treasure trove. Lucky for me, I live in London, so I will certainly be making plans to check out this exhibition before it closes. If you are planning to do the same with this exhibition or with any of the other exhibitions we've looked at, do let us all know in the comments section, and also let us know what it was like, if and or when you do manage to go. So what do you think of any or all of the headlines that we've looked at today? Were there any headlines that caught your eye in September that I didn't discuss in this video? What about any exhibitions or events that you may have spotted? As always, I'm looking forward to reading your conversations in the comments section underneath this video, or you can find me elsewhere on social media. I will leave links to all the other places you can find me on the internet in my description box, so consider following me over on some or all of them so that we can continue this conversation and start some others. I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful, and if you did, please share it with your friends. Please also let me know you liked it by hitting the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you think you're subscribed, this is now the absolute perfect time just to check that YouTube hasn't mysteriously unsubscribed you. And what's even better is while you're there, checking, subscribing, maybe resubscribing, you are going to notice that there's a little bell icon that sits beside the subscribe button. If you hit that and then select all in the drop down that's going to appear, allegedly, YouTube will tell you when I've next uploaded. Now, if this has all been done and it's still not happening for you, then I suppose our last recourse is for me to tell you that I upload my videos, they go live every Friday at 4 p.m. my time, which is GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, British Standard Time, whatever you want to call it. So if all else fails, perhaps set yourself a reminder based upon that. You may notice that I've been putting my videos up as premieres. So from 4 p.m. GMT on a Friday, I will be in the live chat on those premieres whenever I can make it, which recently has been pretty frequently. But regardless, the premiere and the live chat will be there, and I do hope you will enjoy taking part in that. I also hope that you're going to have a great day whatever you're doing, and I look forward to speaking to you all in my next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now.